Welcome to the channel. Today's story is full of surprises and real drama. Subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's dive in. I'm Jake Green, 36 years old. I was married to a beautiful woman for 7 years. She's 30 but could easily pass for 25. We didn't have kids. I was ready, but she wasn't always saying, "Soon, Jake, soon." Our physical relationship was great, but for me, it was the small things like hugs and kisses that mattered most. I loved being near her. It made me feel calm and loved. She was affectionate and always there for me, or so I thought. Her name is Sophia. My love for her turned into pure hate, and eventually, an emptiness that I can't describe. People say the opposite of love is indifference, but I don't believe that. For me, love turned into cold, unrelenting rage. A part of me died, and I know it'll never heal. If she were burning in front of me, I wouldn't even bother to put the flames out. You're probably wondering what could make a caring, loving man like me turn into someone so full of anger. It started at a company holiday party 2 years ago. Sophia always dressed too sexy for these parties. I didn't mind too much when she dressed like that. Men paid her a lot of attention. I was flattered that the most desirable woman in the room was mine. She wore a dress that didn't leave much to the imagination. I was married to a woman who looked like a walking wet dream. I wondered who she was trying to impress. Usually, I'm not a jealous guy, but what's mine is mine, and as long as there was no doubt about that, we were okay. I told Sophia before we left that a lot of men would be hitting on her, and I trusted her to not let anything happen that would be disrespectful to herself or me. I'm not a man who tolerates disrespect. My martial arts partners call me the Crusher for a reason. They all know I can be a mean son of a bitch. Sophia never saw that part of me, and I prayed she never would. I had an uneasy feeling before we left the house. I guess you could call it a premonition. "Why are you looking like your dog just died, Jake? Don't you want to go to the party?" she said, giving me her sexiest smile. That smile always made my body respond. "To tell you the truth, babe, I'd rather skip the party this year," I said, hoping she'd agree with me. "Why, honey? I thought you always had fun at these parties," she said as she put on a pair of sheer black stockings. "Don't be such a party pooper. We don't get out dancing much. I really need to let my hair down and have some fun. I'm almost finished dressing. Come on, let's go." She sounded irritated at my hesitation. Something wasn't right. She was too excited about that damn party. It's just that 2 years ago the party got too wild for my taste. There was a lot of butt-grabbing going on. People start drinking and acting stupid. Crowds make me nervous since Ryan became vice president of the company. He's hit on every woman in the office, and there's a rumor he's had sex with several of them. I almost knocked him on his ass 2 years ago. I didn't like how he was always buzzing around you, and I surely didn't like how he danced with you. Ryan's the president's nephew, a slimy piece of shit who thinks the sun rises and sets in his ass. He's married with 2 kids. I felt sorry for his wife. She deserves a better man than that punk. I've often seen him flirt with numerous women in a way that humiliated her at previous parties. She's refused to come with him for the past couple of years. She's a real lady and good-looking too. I couldn't imagine why she stayed with the pompous clown. He's just a big flirt. I can handle him. Never forget that I'm proud to be your woman. I love you more than life. You know that, don't you? There's no need for you to be worried. Sure, he's tall, rich, and handsome, but he'll never be the man you are. You're my baby, and you always will be. I didn't like her description of the creep, but I shrugged it off. Sophia never gave me a reason to doubt her loyalty. Love is truly blind. I could see my fate was sealed. There would be no changing her mind. Sometimes a man has to give an inch to gain a mile. I didn't want anything to interfere with my plan to make mad, passionate love with her when we got home. We arrived at the party a little late. Some people were already a little drunk. The music filled the room. People were dancing, laughing, and having a good time. I decided to try to fit in and hope the evening would end sooner than later. As soon as we walked through the door, Ryan Stevens came over and gave me a weak handshake. I felt like I touched a snake. He glared lasciviously at Sophia, taking her hand and giving it a long kiss, totally ignoring my presence. My blood pressure caused my head to start pounding. It wouldn't have taken much more to knock him out right there. I could see it was going to be a long night. Sophia gave me a wink signifying we were secure, and we began to mingle with the guests. Ryan walked over and took Sophia by the arm. She didn't object. I didn't know how much more I could take. "Let me introduce you to some of our new staff," he said with a wolfish grin. He acted like Sophia was his woman. "You don't mind, do you, Jake?" He didn't wait for my answer. Sophia gave me her please relax look, so I let it pass. A good friend of mine named Mason saw what was happening and dragged me over to a group of guys playing a drinking game and telling lies while their wives circulated and gossiped about whatever it is women talk about. I pretended to drink. I never get drunk, I like to keep my wits about me. While I was enjoying the company of my friends, I would look around occasionally for Sophia. I noticed she danced with a couple of guys, everything seemed above board. I'm not sure how much time had passed. I knew I was ready to go home and ravish my wife. We hadn't made love for a couple of days, which was a long time for us. I was glad she had the opportunity to let her hair down, as she put it. I had done my duty. I couldn't find her, and couldn't imagine where she could be. I looked everywhere. I saw her friend Megan and inquired if she had seen Sophia. Megan looked a little nervous and told me she had seen Sophia dancing with Ryan about 20 minutes ago. I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. The uneasy feeling that had been haunting me turned my stomach into knots. I began to look for her outside the ballroom. I heard voices as I looked into an unused small conference room. I decided to check it out. I could hear a woman in the throes of passion. It sounded like Sophia. I couldn't believe my eyes. There was my loving wife bent over the arm of a chair, being drilled by the slime ball himself. At first, I was paralyzed. I thought I was having a stroke. They were too involved in what they were doing to notice me standing there. I walked over and stood there for a while before they saw me. "Oh my God, Jake, let me explain," she shrieked, trying to pull herself together. "You have nothing to say to me, you lying bitch," I said with all the venom I could muster. "I worship the ground you walked on, and this is how you repay me? We're finished. You are no longer my wife. Look at me." She couldn't raise her head. I grabbed her by her hair and forced her to look at me. "What do you see? Do you see the eyes of the man that loved you? They're the eyes of a dead man. You killed my heart and soul tonight. Now I see why you were so eager to come to that damn party. You wouldn't have sex with me because you were saving your cheating pussy for this dirtbag." At that, she let out an agonizing cry. "No, I can explain," she pleaded. "Don't try to talk your way out of this. You've been busted." She was terrified. She tried to speak, but no words came out. All the time I was berating my soon-to-be ex-wife, Ryan just stood there looking amused. At that moment, 3 of my buddies entered the room: Mason, Logan, and James. I guess Megan told them there was going to be trouble. They stood there frozen, nobody knew what to say. I turned to Ryan. "And you piece of shit. I should kill you where you stand. If you try anything, he'll have you arrested for assault, and my uncle will fire you. Maybe he'll just kick your ass for the hell of it." "I've already had your precious wife's pussy several times," he said, grinning at me. "You've been getting sloppy seconds after every holiday party for the past 7 years. He was sneering at me. "Screw you and your uncle," I growled. I decided to not only humiliate him, but I was going to make him suffer, and Sophia too. He was a few inches taller than me, not that it mattered. I was ready for a fight. The prick had no idea what I was capable of. I allowed my anger to dull the pain as I looked at the woman I would have gladly given my life for. We both knew what she had done was unforgivable. There could be no excuses or forgiveness. Our life together was over. As badly as I wanted to kill him, she wasn't worth spending the next 25 years in prison. "Your ass is mine. You'll pay for your disrespect," I said, looking him in the eye. I wasn't reacting as he expected. I was blocking his exit deliberately. I could see the indecision on his face. He decided to bluff his way out and push me out of the way. That was a big mistake. I easily avoided his hand and gave him a quick shot to his gut. When he doubled over, I grabbed him around his neck and began slapping him with the palm of my hand. The first slap stunned him and twisted his head around as he hit the floor. I lost count of how many times I slapped the now defenseless, whimpering garbage on the floor. All right, please, enough. "No more, please, no more," he begged like the coward he was. "Not nearly enough, scum sucker. You'll live to regret deciding to screw my wife." You took what was mine. When I'm finished, you'll be divorced and disgraced. I'm going to sue you for alienation of affection, then I'm going to sue the company for your misconduct on company time. You'll be rich, and you'll be screwed. You messed with the wrong man. Hear me good, the wrong man. If a man's voice can sound murderous, mine did. 2 police officers entered the room. I looked at Sophia. I didn't forget about you. You gave up a good man in your marriage for this crying piece of shit. You deserve each other. He attacked me. Arrest him, he's crazy, Ryan yelled at the cops. They understood what was happening. It was self-defense, officer, said Mason. Jake caught him banging his wife. He tried to attack Jake. Is that right? The cop asked the other 2 men. Absolutely, officer, said Logan. Jake was defending himself, added James. They're lying. He assaulted me, pleaded Ryan, close to hysterical. The cops looked at Sophia. She appeared to be in shock. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Are you all right, lady? Did you see what happened? She just sat there crying with her hands on her face. I felt no pity for her. The love I had for her was compressed somewhere in the back of my mind. Do you want to press charges against this man? The sergeant said, pointing at Ryan. I could see their sympathies were with me, even though Ryan was the one with the swollen face. He came after me. He's crazy, I tell you. I didn't do anything. That's not what 3 witnesses saw, the other cop said. Officer, lock his ass up. I'd be more than willing to press charges. Get him out of here, said the sergeant, looking at me with empathy. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Just call the station and ask for Sergeant Roberts. Just so you know, I've been there too. I nodded at him in silent recognition of his understanding. Well, talk to you later, Jake, said Mason. Come on, guys, let's go. Jake has some business to take care of. Mason walked over to me and looked into my soul, then he hugged me. Hang tough, he said, then left the room. Now there were 2 people left. I picked up her panties off the chair and put them in my pocket. I had no idea what I was going to do with them. Sophia had calmed down. It was easy to see she dreaded what was coming next. So did I. I felt an icy chill come over me. Something inside was broken. It was a numbing feeling that allowed me to feel detached from the woman I loved. I was a stranger to myself. I looked at Sophia and thought of that old cliché that she appeared to have been ridden hard and put up wet. How does a man erase the woman he loves from his heart? I had no idea. I knew that I could never look at her the same way again. I had to keep my anger. It controlled my grief and protected what was left of my sanity. At that moment, I knew what my revenge would be. The wound she inflicted would stay with me until the day I die. She had destroyed my world. The trust was gone. Nothing mattered anymore. Get your coat and meet me at the car. Be quick, I said, turning my back on her and leaving the room. I didn't want her to see the pain I was feeling. I didn't want her sympathy. The funeral for our love and marriage was about to begin. As the car sped into the night, my silence said volumes. Are we going home, Jake? We don't have a home anymore. When you broke our marriage vows, you destroyed our home. It's just a house now, a house where I used to be happy, a house where I loved and trusted a wife who used to be my best friend, I said, unable to disguise the sadness in my voice. She started to cry quietly. Jake, is there any way you could possibly forgive me? Please, they'll do anything. Give me a chance. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Do you think he'll ever forget what I saw tonight? Or that piece of shit telling me he screwed you? When you let that parasite have you, you screwed my enemy. You decided to dishonor your vows to me and give him what was mine again and again. When you did that, you ended our marriage. That means the last 7 years have been a complete lie. A total lie. Please forgive me, Jake. Believe it or not, I love you with all my heart. I guess I let him use me for the excitement of doing something I shouldn't do. I never thought about the consequences. It was like a game, a silly, immature game. He could never be the man you are. I know I was foolish and selfish. Let me make it up to you. Please beat me, curse me, anything you want. Just don't leave me. I'll die without you in my life. It didn't mean anything. It meant everything, I yelled as my hands gripped the steering wheel. My emotions were taking control. I forced myself to calm down. A game? Screwing with my life was a game. You talk about your love. You love me yet go and screw another? The car slowed and stopped. Get out. Where are we? Get out. Why? What's going on? Her face showed concern and fear. Get your ass out of the car now. My tone left her no choice. Sophia followed me to the door. Mrs. Parker, yes? Yes, how can I help you? My name is Jake Green. I used to work for your husband's company. May I speak with you a moment? Is Ryan okay? What's this about? I had a firm grip on Sophia's arm as we entered the house. Please come in, have a seat. She was the kind of wife I thought I had. I was going to cause her pain. Ryan would hurt much worse. He should have read me better. I had to hurt his innocent wife in order to crush him and humiliate my soon-to-be ex-wife. I was being driven by primitive feelings I can't begin to explain. This will only take a short time, Mrs. Parker. My wife has something to tell you. All eyes were on Sophia. Tell her. I tightened my grip on her arm. She hesitated. Tell her. My grip tightened again. My husband caught me having sex with Ryan tonight at the holiday party. She blurted the words out like they were poison. Tell her how long you've been screwing her husband. Every year for the past 7 years, we've managed to sneak away and have sex, she cried. I acted like a slut, and I'm so sorry. We only had her word on that. She could have had a series of lovers or a relationship with Ryan more often than she's confessed. Who cares? Her ability to deceive long-term had already been established. Ryan's wife looked more enraged than shocked. She always knew he was an asshole, but to be confronted with his adultery made her knees weak. She recovered and walked to Sophia and slapped her hard. Sophia fell back, holding her face, stunned and hurt. Get that bitch out of my house, she hissed. When I'm finished divorcing his worthless ass, you can have him, she spoke, looking at Sophia like roadkill. It felt good knowing Ryan was going to have one hell of a welcome home reception when he bailed out. I knew that Sophia and I would soon part forever. It hurt me to look at her. I never could have imagined the day would come when my beloved wife would need my protection, and I would not give it to her. Well, shit happens. We were getting close to her sister's house. We will be divorced, I said without looking at her. The house will be sold, and I will take 70% of the equity. We'll divide our investments equally and keep our own pensions. If you don't contest the divorce, I will not use adultery against you, which would include the testimony of at least a dozen people who were aware of what you were doing over the past 7 years. I'm sure my 3 friends would be happy to drive a nail into your coffin. They were there when I kicked the shit out of Loverboy. I will then mail the transcript to every friend and relative you have, exposing you for the whore you are to everyone. It's up to you. There's nothing I can do, Jake. Nothing, she looked defeated, helpless, and desperate. You already know the answer to that question, don't you? My revenge against you will last a long time, maybe forever. What are you going to do to me? I know you. You're basically a good woman whose lapse in character has cost both of us a terrible price. I believe that you love me, but it doesn't matter. For the most part, you've been a good wife whose selfishness has ruined several lives. You're also self-centered and manipulative. I guess I chose not to deal with that part of you throughout our marriage. You'll never make that mistake again. Your guilt will haunt you. It will grow and consume you. When you finally realize that I'm never coming back, you'll experience deep depression and loss. You'll crave my forgiveness. Having forfeited my love, I want you to go to your grave regretting what you've done to yourself and me and carrying the burden of knowing that you are unforgiven. The car pulled in front of her sister's house. You'll be hearing from my lawyer soon. Don't go back to the house until noon tomorrow. By that time, it'll be gone. They'll come back when you aren't there to get the rest of my stuff. That's it, Jake? Over 7 years of marriage gone just like that? Just like that. Goodbye. By the way, take these with you, I said, handing her back her panties. Tears fell from her eyes as she exited the car. Tears rolled down my face as well. The divorce with Sophia was over in 6 months. Now, 8 months later, I pondered if I should have let her see my pain, if for no other reason than to let her see how her actions destroyed my life. I realized that I had lost control the night I caught her. I didn't feel good about that. I guess I was a bit insane at the time. Since then, I've tried not to allow myself to grieve the death of our relationship. I needed to keep the anguish at bay. Nevertheless, I was continually depressed. My subconscious mind kept asking questions for which there were no answers. For the first 6 months after our separation, she tried to call me a number of times. If she left a message, I erased it. If I answered and heard her voice, I hung up. It was a matter of self-defense. Despite everything, I knew I still loved her. She knew how to get to me, and I didn't want that. My dignity, pride, and self-respect depended on my staying strong. I couldn't let her hurt me again. The less angry I became, the more vulnerable I felt. My love for her hadn't died, but I couldn't be with her. After the divorce was final, she gave up and stopped calling. What was she going to say? I love you. It was just sex, honey. I'm a sex addict. He drugged me and forced himself on me 4 years in a row. I didn't want to hear her lies and excuses. If that was the case, and even if it happened once, and she didn't tell me, she became a party to his crimes. Besides, what I saw showed me how much she was enjoying his efforts. She signed the papers and didn't show up at the final hearing. It was just as well. I didn't want or need to see her again. It was impossible to tell if her absence indicated her pain and acceptance that our marriage was over or if she just didn't give a damn. I used to think that I understood her. After what I had witnessed, anything was possible. Flashbacks of her defeated and miserable face the last time I saw her were etched into my brain. Oddly, that image grew more powerful with time, while the picture of her and her lover began to fade. Even though I knew that our love was a lie, I still missed her. God help me, but I could never trust her again. There would be no way to know if she ever really loved me. Was she a slut when I married her? Was I just a pawn in some secret master plan? I couldn't understand how she felt it was okay to make me a fool. If she loved me, how could she show me such disrespect? The questions made me feel inadequate and confused. I didn't think I could ever trust another woman. I needed to do something, but I didn't know what to do to shake her out of my life. My so-called revenge against her was a matter of wishful thinking. It depended on her having loved me as much as I loved her. She could have been screwing her brains out as soon as I turned the corner. I didn't want to be the only one hurting. The reality hit me that I never really knew her. I had been in love with an illusion. Could it all have been smoke and mirrors? The questions were driving me crazy. The death of our marriage occurred without warning, like a flash of lightning and a clash of thunder. My life as I knew it was over in one night. When the story got out about what I did that night, some of our friends saw me as a heartless villain. Others felt I should have found ways to punish and humiliate her more than I did. None of that mattered anymore. I was no longer enraged, just lost. I didn't want to dwell on the past, and I had no plans for the future. I received $750,000 in hush money from the president of the company, with the understanding that I would keep the name of the company and his nephew out of the courts and newspapers. He even tried to give me Ryan's vice president position. There was no way I could stay there. I couldn't bear the looks of my one-time colleagues. Their faces said it all. Some of them pitied me, others saw me as stupid or weak for allowing my wife to cheat on me for so long. To the people I had known for so long, I was a victim, or an idiot. Just about everyone knew what was going on with Sophia and Ryan, except me. With the $200,000 I received from Ryan to keep me from suing him for alienation of affection, my share of the equity in the house, and my share of our investments, I decided I didn't need to look for work anytime soon. I started drinking every day to fill the lonely hours and empty space in my life. While drinking my troubles away one night, I had a conversation with the bartender at my favorite watering hole. His name is Luke. He's in his 50s, with gray hair and a face that had seen a lot of bad roads. Luke was a straight shooter, that's why I always liked him. His eyes reflected years of acquired wisdom. He's the kind of guy you wanted on your side in a bar fight. Had heard it all and done it all. He didn't have to say it, I just knew. I had brought Sophia to the place a number of times. It was close to home, and we both liked it there. The food was good, and the music was jumping after 8 p.m. They had dancing. The last time Sophia and I were here, we danced as if tomorrow would never come. We only danced with each other and stared into each other's eyes lovingly. Why didn't I see the betrayal in her eyes? I don't know, maybe I didn't want to. Then we went home and made some wild love. We'll never dance again, except in my mind. I scanned every woman who entered the room. I guess I was looking for Sophia while at the same time dreading seeing her. Jake, I've never known you to be a heavy drinker. I'm worried about you, brother. You're working on your third scotch, and you haven't been here 15 minutes. I hope you don't mind me butting into your business, but you look like a man who has a lot on his mind. It's slow tonight. I've been tending bar long enough to learn how to listen if you want to talk about it. I was happy to finally let it out. There had been too many conversations in my own head. Luke listened as I told him my story. He said nothing for a long time. Your ex was in here a couple of weeks ago, Jake. She was beautiful as usual, and she didn't look like she was grieving to me. She kept looking around, the same as you've been doing. She could have been looking for you. She probably does love you in her own messed-up way. Don't even try to make sense of it. She came in with an older guy who acted and spoke as if he was some kind of royalty. You could see he had some money and was used to getting his way. She didn't look happy then again, she didn't look unhappy either. The deal is, you're crying in your beer and suffering alone, and she's dancing. A new image of my ex flashed in my head. I could see her, smell her perfume, and hear her laugh. It was far away from the sobbing wretch that I left, but the sexy, manipulating force of nature she was. Well, so much for my revenge. I wondered if she had felt any of the torment and loss that had plagued me since the night we parted. I said nothing as I hung my head, lost in my thoughts. The grief that I had been trying to repress rushed over me. I was powerless to stop it. I was glad Luke was there. I felt an overwhelming sense of mourning for what was dead and gone. Now, what I'm about to say may sound a bit hard, but you've got to suck it up, Jake. Your situation has changed, and you have to change with it. That's all you need to know. Grow up, get your body back in shape, move on. On your feet, soldier. March or die. The answers to your problems are not in a bottle. You're stuck, and if you don't watch out, you could be there forever, hiding in a bottle. You're close to losing respect for yourself. If you let that happen, you have only yourself to blame. The first thing you need to do is go get laid. Then go get laid again. You're too good a man to let the bitch get you down. Find yourself a real nasty woman, then screw her until you pass out. Clear your head and get on with your life, Luke said, sounding like a combination of friend, counselor, and a little touch of drill sergeant. My weakness was embarrassing. I followed Luke's advice. I stopped drinking, started working out, and screwed every female that would consent. It wasn't love, and I couldn't remember most of their names. The recreational sex helped me reacquire my self-esteem. We didn't make love, we screwed. They became the life preservers that kept me from drowning. I needed more than that, I needed to feel loved. As I felt better and my confidence grew, the more female attention I seemed to attract. It came to me that I was not the cause of Sophia's behavior. If anything, I should have addressed her self-centered, manipulating ways a long time ago. Whatever demons drove her were not of my making. When I realized that, my depression began to lift. I needed to get out of town, away from her. I didn't need to see or hear anything that reminded me of her. I bought a motorcycle, sold or gave away my possessions, and headed south. I hit the road with no map or destination. It didn't matter what road I was on, they all went somewhere. Sitting on the bike, I was free. It had been a few years since I had ridden. Before I left the state, I was one with the bike and the road. I was no longer a white-collar drone or a drunk. I felt like a modern-day cowboy. The bike was my horse, beautiful, powerful, yet fragile, and it would kill you if the rider didn't stay in control. I was a biker, and the road in front of me was more important than what was behind. I was in control of my life. The bike did as I instructed it to do. My safety was my responsibility. These thoughts became integrated into my life philosophy. As I rode, I could smell the rhythms of life around me, feel slight temperature variations as the hills and valleys rose and fell while the scenery blurred by. It was good to be alive. I found myself thinking that I hoped there were motorcycles in heaven. Dying wouldn't be so bad. I was in the moment. What happened yesterday or what would happen tomorrow were no longer an issue. Every mile brought me closer and closer to a feeling of peace. The blast of wind and the roar of the big twin engine became music to my soul. I rode through many little towns with funny names, met some interesting real people, and ate a lot of greasy food. Some of the roads were good, some were bad. That's life, I guess. Then I turned west. Just outside of Greenville, Texas, I passed a woman desperately trying to get me to stop. I waited for her on the side of the road until she caught up to me. I couldn't imagine why she was alone in the middle of nowhere. She was average height, blonde, and very pretty. The woman was crying and looked like somebody had been smacking her around. "Please, please help me," she said in tears. Even in her disarray, she was good-looking. Her green eyes drew me in like pools of warm water. "Sure, how can I help you?" I asked, not sure of what I was getting myself into, turning off the bike. "I need a ride to Rockford. My ex-boyfriend is on his way to my house. He said he's going to kill my mother and my daughter." "Do you have a cell phone?" she asked frantically. I wanted to ask her what the hell was going on, but her desperate state of urgency didn't allow for questions. There would be time later to get to the bottom of it. I gave her my phone, and she called the police. She seemed a little less stressed after she spoke to them. "You don't know me, and you've been more than kind, but could I ask you to give me a ride to my house? It'll show you where to go." I pray to God that maniac doesn't get there before the police. "Please hurry." Before I could answer, she was on the back of the bike, holding me tight. We sped up the road. I used all of my skills to get her to her child and mother. I think I broke every traffic law on the books. It felt good to have her arms around me. It felt good to be needed. I didn't even know her name. I wasn't sure what was going to happen when we arrived. If this guy had a gun, we'd both be screwed. When we arrived at her house, the police were already there. They were putting the handcuffs on the man who was resisting arrest. Olivia jumped off the bike and ran toward the house. He saw her and started shouting, "He'll get you. You'll see. They can't keep me locked up forever." He was still ranting as they drove away. "Mama, are you and Lila okay?" "I was so worried," she said, hugging her mother. Just then, a cute little 9-year-old girl appeared. "Mommy, you're home. Jack was here. He said he was going to kill us." "Why does he want to hurt me and Grandma?" "Why, Mommy?" I stood behind her, feeling a bit awkward at that moment. Both the mother and Grandma realized I was standing there. "Please forgive me," Olivia said. "I don't even know your name." Jake Green," I said, extending my hand to Olivia. "This is my mother, Carol, and this is," she said, putting her arm around the little girl, "my little angel, Lila. My name is Olivia. Mama, Mr. Green was nice enough to take me here after Jack slapped me and left me on the side of the road. I was so worried. He's crazy. When I told him I didn't want anything else to do with him, I thought he was going to kill me. I'm very glad to meet you, ladies, and especially you, Lila," I said, smiling down at the little girl. "I'm glad that I could be of some help. Please call me Jake." "Mr. Green is my father's name," I said, smiling. "I'm sorry it couldn't be under better circumstances. I'm glad they got that guy before he hurt somebody. He acted like a real mental case." She didn't have a chance to answer. Lila chimed in, "Could you take me for a ride on your motorcycle, please? I like motorcycles." She looked at her mother expectantly. She had completely forgotten the drama her mother's ex-boyfriend had caused and had no idea of the seriousness of the threat against them. "Well, see, Lila? If it's okay with your mommy, it's okay with me." Carol extended her hand. As I shook hands, she said, "We thank you, Jake." "I mean, Jake. Would you like to stay for dinner? I guess we owe you some kind of explanation in exchange for your kindness." "I'd love to stay for dinner, Carol. I haven't had a home-cooked meal in a long, long time." "Well, I hope you're hungry." "Mama always cooks too much," Olivia said with a twinkle in her eyes. "Are you married?" asked Lila. No, I'm not." "Why, do you want to marry me?" I said, kneeling down so I could see her eye to eye. "I'm too little," she said thoughtfully. "But you could marry Mommy." We all smiled at her innocence, feeling a little embarrassed. "Lila, we just met Jake. He doesn't even know us," Olivia said in a way only a mother could. "I know, but he has a motorcycle, and I like him." "Well, now that we have that straightened out, let's eat," said Carol. I had just met these people nevertheless. I was feeling as if I was talking to family. Their sincerity and warmth, as well as their trouble, tapped into my protective instincts. There were good vibrations in this family. I wanted more information about Jack. He appeared to be dangerously out of control, and I was seriously concerned for their safety. It didn't hurt that Olivia was a real beauty, and little Lila was irresistible. I resolved that as long as I was around, No harm would come to Olivia or her family. Suddenly, my life had a purpose. The question in my mind was how such a nice woman ended up with a head like Jack. Then I thought, I ended up with Sophia, didn't I? One bad decision can lead to an endless array of consequences. I decided that fate can sometimes be kind as well as cruel. I considered myself fortunate to have met her. Life had banged her around a bit. I knew what that was like. When the time was right, I'd investigate further. Jack was going to be trouble. Dinner was served, and both Olivia and her mother seemed to be happy that I was starving. The food was good, and I ate like a man having his last meal. I gave them some background about my divorce and the fact that I had been riding aimlessly for months, trying to regroup my life. They nodded empathetically as I spoke. I liked them, and I got the feeling they liked me. Both of them kept giving me sly, appraising looks. I could tell they were trying to figure out what kind of man I really was. Little Lila already knew. She sat next to me and reached out to touch me every now and then. It made me smile in my heart and on my face. I looked at Olivia and said, "Tell me how you got mixed up with Jack." "I don't like Jack," said Lila. "He's a mean man, and he hit Mommy." Olivia took on a pained and embarrassed expression when she realized how much her relationship with Jack had affected her daughter. At first, he was considerate and kind. I didn't love him, but he was decent company in the beginning. I knew he wasn't good for me, but I was lonely and needed someone to talk to. Then he quickly changed and started drinking heavily. He didn't want me to talk to my friends or family, and then he started treating Lila like unwanted baggage. I wouldn't put up with his abuse. When I told him it was over, he became violent. He said if I would speak with him one last time, he would leave us alone. That's how I ended up standing on the side of the road. Thank God you came along when you did. Is he Lila's father? I asked, hoping that he wasn't. No. My husband, Adam, is Lila's father. He was killed in Iraq. We've been alone since then. It's been more than 3 years now. I've only known Jack for a month. That's it. That's how we got into this mess. I suggest that you go down to the courthouse on Monday and get an order of protection. He threatened you in front of the police. The order will be automatic. That way, he'll be arrested immediately if he comes anywhere near you or your family. I want to ride the motorcycle, Lila said, lightening the conversation the way only a child could. Okay. I'm sure Jake will give you a ride, said Olivia. If you're finished eating, go watch cartoons. I want to talk to Jake some more, okay, honey? Come on, sugar, let's go see what's on, said Carol. Okay, Mommy. See you later, Jake. She skipped away. Wow, your daughter really gets to me. She is something else. I think she looks like you. Lila is my angel. If anything happened to her, I would surely die too. I don't think I could have made it through the past couple of years without her. I understand, I said, taking her hands in mine. It seemed like the natural thing to do. That was a magic moment. I swear the heat from her hands shot up my arm, rattled around my brain, and pierced my heart. I wanted this woman. All I could see were her eyes. I was lost in them. We were communicating without words. I knew she felt it too. Something powerful was transpiring. It scared me a little. It's getting late. I should go and find myself someplace to sleep tonight, I said, standing up, feeling nervous. My life was changing again. I was trying to keep up. We have lots of room, Jake. Stay here, please. Lila would love it. Really? How about you? I said, knowing what the answer was. Yes, I would love it too. I feel so safe around you. You're my knight in shining armor. You rode in and saved me on your motorcycle. Would be happy to help you until you get on your feet. Her smile lit up the room. She thought I was broke. Obviously, it wasn't my money she wanted. I accept, I said, smiling. I noticed your house could use a few repairs. I'd be happy to do that for you, okay? That would be great, Jake. It will be nice to have you around for a while. It's Friday night. Do you know a place we could go dancing? Not too fancy. I'm afraid I'm not carrying much in the way of clothes. Yep, I know just the place, she said, genuinely enthusiastic about the idea. Let me see, she started appraising my measurements. My husband, Adam, was about your size. I never got around to throwing away his things. I'll show you where I keep them. Please, if you see anything that fits, help yourself. I have to go get myself ready. Come on, I'll show you where the stuff is. It's in the guest bedroom. There's a bathroom in there if you want to take a shower. It's a country bar, so don't get too dressed up. She disappeared and came back an hour later. Holy smokes, I said when I saw her. She cleaned up really well. Olivia was wearing jeans, high-heeled shoes, and a top that clung to her breasts, allowing them to accentuate her beauty. Pearls around her neck, and her hair was in a ponytail. She took my breath away, having the appearance of being young yet sensual and mature at the same time. You're positively stunning, I said. The dumb smile on my face conveyed my feelings. I'm just a little old country girl, she coyly replied. If that's the case, I love the country, I said, wanting to make love to her right there. She beamed at the compliment. I had a feeling that I had won the lottery. I wondered how she would deal with all the masculine attention she was bound to receive. The last time I went out with a beautiful woman, well, we know what happened. Thank you, kind sir. You're looking quite handsome yourself. I think we make a very cute couple. Shall we go? She was a little nervous as she walked out the door. I had the chance to check out her shapely hips. I was having a hard time controlling my growing attraction to her. I couldn't think of a single thing about her that I didn't like. It was too early to say I was in love, but I was definitely in lust and like big time. The club was bigger than I thought it would be. Heads turned, following her as we entered. She acted as if she had no idea of how beautiful she was. The band had the people dancing, nodding their heads with the music, smiling, and laughing. Olivia showed me how to two-step and some other country and western dances. I was having a ball and discovered that I liked country music a lot. When the music was slow, I took every opportunity to pull her close. I was feeling like this woman was meant to be with me. I needed her to feel the same way. We sat down to drink a beer, rest, and talk. She politely refused to dance with anyone else. I found out that she had a degree from the state university and was a teacher. Her deceased husband was a captain in the army when he was killed in action. She didn't think she could ever love again after his death. I felt the same way after the death of my marriage. Olivia went to the ladies' room. I watched intently as she moved through the crowd. Several men tried to buy her a drink, or at least engage in conversation. They failed. She didn't even smile at them. I liked what I saw. Thanks for flagging me down today. Meeting you is the best thing that's happened to me in a long time, I said to her when she returned. I know you just met me, but I'm thinking that us being together feels right. It's like our spirits know each other. I feel that way too, Jake, but there is something you've got to know about me. Any man in my life would have to accept two things. First, Lila is my life. We're a package deal. And the love I have for Adam is still there. It always will be, even though he's gone. Do you understand? A man in my life would have to share me with his memory. Are you man enough to deal with that? I looked down for a moment, then lifted my eyes to hers, once again taking her hands in mine. Absolutely, I answered without reservation. I couldn't imagine being too far away from her. I've always wanted to be with a woman who could love me like that. I respect what you're saying. I know he was a good man. I just hope there's room in your heart to love again. If I was him, that's what I'd want, I said sincerely. I could, Jake. The love I still hold for my deceased husband is special, and in a special place in my heart. I have a big heart. I'm sure there is room for more love in there. She was looking at me with hope on her face. She was trying to assure herself of my sincerity and willingness to understand and stand by her and Lila. When we got back to her house, I turned to face her when we reached the door and looked deeply into her eyes. Can I have a hug? I said, reaching out my arms. I embraced her and held on tight, then I gently kissed her again and again. The scent of her drove me crazy. I never wanted to stop. I took her face in my hands and said, "You're very special. I just want you to know that." We kissed again, this time deeply and passionately. That night I couldn't sleep. As I lay in bed, I thought about Olivia and the events of the day. I knew that I wasn't homeless anymore. With Olivia was where I wanted to be. She entered the room and closed the door. Without saying a word, she slipped into bed with me and cuddled up close. I started to speak, and she pressed her fingers to my mouth. I couldn't control myself. I started to kiss her neck. My passion urged me to claim her as my woman. I resisted the urge as long as I could. I wanted the night to be one she would never forget. We made slow, passionate love. Our souls were bonding. 9 weeks passed. Jack's trial for assault and resisting arrest was coming up. If he managed to make bail, he'd be back. Olivia didn't talk much about her fear of him, but I knew it was there. We slept together and made love every night. Her kind and gentle nature brought out the best part of me. The part one liked. Our needs complemented each other. She needed a provider, lover, and protector. I needed someone to protect, a lover, and someone worth providing for. My life with Sophia became more and more a distant dream. I became able to think of her with no emotion. In fact, I was able to wish her well and hope she could find her road to happiness. Olivia would slip out early in the morning so that she would not be setting a bad example for Lila. So when are you going to ask her? Carol asked me one morning as I was drinking my coffee. What? I said, spilling a little coffee. If I ever saw two people who should be together, it's you and Olivia. And Lila adores you, Carol said, turning to face me as she washed the dishes. You know she loves you, don't you? I never thought I'd see her so happy again. I know. I love her too, and Lila. And you too. I feel at home here, I said, walking over to give her a big hug. We haven't known each other that long. I just don't want to rush things. I guess I should tell her I love her, huh? What do you think? I don't want to meddle. She patted me on the shoulder and left the kitchen, leaving me to my thoughts. That night, as I waited for Olivia in my room, I decided that I would discuss the topic of marriage with her. I knew she was the right woman. It was important that she understood what it meant to me. We needed to make some sacred promises to each other before we made any vows in public. I decided I would no longer hold back things that needed to be said, as I did in my first marriage. I heard a piercing scream. It was Olivia. I instantly knew Jack was in the house. I reached into the drawer by my bed and took out the 9mm Glock that I had bought as soon as I met the residency requirements. I didn't want to bring empty hands to a gunfight. I rushed to Olivia's room in my underwear. When I got there, I saw Jack on top of her, trying to assault her. She fought with him, calling my name. I placed the pistol behind his ear. Get up, asshole. Real slow. If you flinch, you're dead. I'd love to blow your head off. In fact, I just might anyway. When he was on his feet, his pants fell to the floor. He attempted to pull them back up. Leave them there. If you move again, they'll kill you. Olivia, call the police. Tell them that Jack has entered your house and tried to assault you. Keep Lila and Carol in their rooms. Come with me, I ordered Jack. He shuffled along to the front door. His pants made movement difficult. When we reached the door, I told him to get on his knees. Are you ready to die, Jack? You picked the wrong family and the wrong man to mess with. You're going to pay for attacking Olivia and threatening her family. Who are you? He croaked. I'm a knight in shining armor, Jack, I said quietly. I cocked the gun and pressed it painfully deeper behind his ear, tightening my grip on his collar. Say your prayers, maggot. You're about to find out what God looks like. After a long moment, he heard the hammer come down, and he pissed on himself. I had taken the magazine out. There was no bullet in the chamber. If you ever think about coming anywhere near Olivia or her family, the gun will be loaded next time. The police arrived and took him away. As a repeat offender, he would get at least 10 years with a guy named Bubba as a roommate. I don't think he ever wants to see me again. After the police left, there I was, standing by the door in my boxers with a gun in my hand. Olivia, Lila, and Carol came rushing toward me. Lila grabbed my legs, and Olivia and Carol were both hugging me. They were all talking at the same time. Okay, ladies. He's gone, and he's not coming back. We're safe. I promise we always will be. Olivia and I were married 4 months later. Our son Adam was born 14 months after that. He looks just like me. Lila was overjoyed to have a baby brother. I asked Luke to be his godfather, and he was honored to do it. He's become part of our family. Olivia is teaching, and Carol babysits. We bought a new house, and I opened a Denny's franchise. I adopted Lila, and she rides with me all the time. The girl has motorcycles in her blood. I learned that when life sends you down some bad roads, The only solution is to find a new road. I'm happy. Thanks for watching. What would you do if you found out your spouse was cheating on you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. Thanks for watching. How would you handle a betrayal like this? Share in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.